Hello, spooky friends, and welcome back to Ghouls Night In, the cozy chat show where your best ghoul friends hang out and talk about all things spooky. I'm Penny Snark.
And I'm Midge Monster.
And today, I feel like I really should have opened this episode with Welcome, foolish mortals. Because today we're talking about the one and only Haunted Mansion. So the Haunted Mansion, I really wanted to bring this as a topic because I feel like it kind of encapsulates my spooky journey. So usually I start with the facts, but today I'm going to start with my personal history of the Haunted Mansion, which is that when I was a kid, my family was very into Disney sing-along VHS tapes.
Oh, okay.
And there was one that featured grim grinning ghosts and footage of like creatures and villains dancing outside the Disneyland Haunted Mansion, and I was terrified of it. I did not like that. I was very scared of the spooky trees and all of these potential grim grinning ghosts that wanted to socialize with me.
Is that the one with like all the skeletons and the like? It has like the they're in like the graveyard and it's doing the like.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. No, so this was like this was actual footage of
in front of the real Haunted Mansion.
In front of the real Haunted Mansion with like face characters. So it had like the evil queen and Captain Hook was there, but then there were also like spooky trees, I guess, that were like full suited characters who were like crazy spooky trees that wave their arms around.
Okay.
Very scary. I will post something about that on our Instagram. Please follow Ghouls Night In Pod on Instagram if you'd like to see that. But so that was kind of my knowledge of the Haunted Mansion as a little kid. And my family used to go to Disney World fairly regularly as a kid because my grandparents lived outside Orlando. And I very clearly remember the first year I decided I wanted to go on the Haunted Mansion, and my parents were like, "Are you sure? Are you sure you want to go on the Haunted Mansion?" And I was dead set on it. I had to go on the Haunted Mansion. We waited in an extremely long line.
You always do.
This was before the days of Fast Pass. R.I.P. Pour one out for Fast Pass. So now my lifespan has just encompassed Fast Pass.
Yeah.
I was here before and I'll be here after.
I thought you were saying that your lifespan got cut in half for all the lines you're going to have to wait in now.
That too. But we waited in this huge long line. This was at Disney World. So, you walk in and it's air conditioned and they have the portrait room, of course. And the portrait room just freaked my shit out. And
didn't even make it to the ride.
Nope. We got down to the ride. I was already crying. And they had like one of those, like the door on the side that was like, "Beware, last chance for yellow-bellied chickens to escape." And my parents did in fact take me out that door because I could not handle the Haunted Mansion. But now as an adult, it is my favorite ride. I have come around.
I have almost literally the identical same story.
Excellent.
That is, same.
Tell me your Haunted Mansion.
I mean, it's literally almost this, except I did not want to go in. I was 4 at the time. It was my first time to Disney World. Actually, my only time to Disney World that I've ever been. But we were there with my parents and my grandparents and my aunt and uncle. And they all, wanted to go on the ride. I did not. I was scared of everything as a kid.
Same.
Everything. Absolutely everything. And I didn't want to go. And I was screaming the whole way in. And literally same thing. I think they took me out like a side door or something. I was like 4. I don't really remember. But what I do remember is that my aunt sat outside with me while I cried while the rest of the family went on the Haunted Mansion ride. And then we went back to Disneyland when I was 13 or 14. And I remembered being scared of the ride. Yeah. But then I went in, I was like, this is so fun. Like, it's so fun. Actually, I do, though. It's funny you say that. I do think the portrait room is one of the scariest parts of.
It's like legit pretty creepy.
You're all crammed in there. Like, it's very claustrophobic and like the stretching. Yeah. Yep.
Ooky
spooky.
Very ooky spooky. And I know, like, the wildest part to me is that I was a huge wimpy kid. So I don't know why I decided that I
said.
needed to go. I'm like, I gotta go in this haunted mansion. And my parents were like, I don't think you do. And I was like, no, I gotta go here.
I am certain.
I am ready. And I was not ready.
Yeah. So Grim Grinning Ghost is my outro music on all my YouTube videos.
Yes, I always jam out. I love that electro pop Grim Grinning Ghost.
Oh, it's so good. And I get a lot of people because of that, which I guess makes sense, being like, oh, you must be a big Disney person. And I'm like, I mean, I like it, but I've only been 2 times. And I wish so much that I could go more, but we were talking earlier, my husband's never been to any Disney park and doesn't understand the haunted mansion happiness that we all feel.
We all know. Well, maybe he can listen to this episode and hear some of my sweet facts and history about the haunted mansion.
Yes,
and he'll be convinced and have to go. So I'm just going to say, as a precursor, that there are people who just like dedicate their whole ass lives to haunted mansion history.
Amazing.
And so this is going to be a light overview
okay.
of the haunted mansion. But if you are a huge mansion fan, most of this information is from doombuggies.com, and they have incredibly in-depth history. They have recordings with like the Imagineers and like the children of Imagineers who worked on it. They have a book about the haunted mansion. So like if you are big into it, check that out.
Rachel Maxey just shared that book on her stories.
Oh, yeah.
They're really in depth with all the original concept art and everything.
So
cool. I love, that's the part of Disney I think I really like, is seeing how they got there.
Yes.
That's the cool part for me.
Yes. So we will say, so even though the Haunted Mansion did not open in Walt's lifetime, it was one of his original attractions. He always wanted a haunted house to be part of Disneyland. And he had actually, in the initial plans and sketches of the park, there was a potential haunted house that would have been right off of Main Street, USA.
Oh, wow. Huh, right there.
Yep. Right on there, and that didn't end up coming to pass, but as they started planning the New Orleans Square expansion, they wanted to bring this haunted house, haunted mansion concept into it, and that was when they brought Imagineer Ken Anderson onto the project, who is the one who did a lot of the original sketches that you'll see and wrote out kind of the original story behind the mansion. So the mansion in some of this like original stuff was actually going to be the home of this bloodthirsty pirate. And you can kind of see, like, you see some like sea related elements around the rides today. But it's actually, and I mean, Disney loves some fucking pirates.
Yes, we were actually literally before we started recording this episode talking about how when I went to Disneyland at 13 was during my pirate obsession phase, which is another ride I had to be carried off of.
Oh no!
When I was little.
See, I was down. I was down for the pirates.
No. But then when we went back was when they had just put all the Johnny Depp statues in there, and your girl has a crush on Mr. Depp. Yeah. I had a t-shirt that said Mrs. Depp. I said, I'm here. I'm ready. Give me the pirates.
I respect that. So in the original, the very first name that I could find was Bartholomew Gore was going to be the name of the pirate who like owned this mansion. And the idea was kind of that like, because it's, a New Orleans theme, that he had like come like to this port and docked here and made his home here with all of his ill-gotten gold.
That makes sense. I mean, the concept could have worked, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think that's really interesting, like you said, but kind of like the interesting part of a lot of Disney things is how they got there. And they really do have like these in-depth stories about a lot of things and start from that point instead of like, what if the monster jumped out here and went, ah?
The official storyline of Haunted Mansion. What if they said blah?
What if blah?
Don't say blah, blah, blah.
But a lot of the, like when I was reading through on Doom Buggies, some of like the details of the story, it was really interesting to see a lot of the story elements that kind of passed through because in this story, they had the pirate captain hanging himself, which you do have the lord of the manor takes his way out at the start of it, which is fucking dark as hell. That is incredibly intense.
Yeah, for a child's ride. Yeah.
Yes. And it has always had like a haunted bride as
Mm-hmm.
part of the story. I believe in the original thing it was that like he had like murdered his wife in like kind of like a Bluebeard sort of vibe.
All pirates.
All pirates, you gotta have the
it.
pirates. It was originally going to be a walkthrough attraction.
No.
Yep. Yep. So there was
I would
going
have said absolutely not.
right.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yep. So there would have been maids and butlers like ushering guests walking through the house and seeing this, and there was a there was a whole museum of the weird concept.
Oh, like kind of an oddities
like there would
type.
be like oddities type of things.
Interesting.
But then of course Disney has their omni-mover technology is what they call that, and they were like, oh, it's actually way better for capacity if we just stick people in here and keep them constantly
make
cycling in and out. So they ended up deciding to do that.
Especially as big as or as popular as an attraction as that became. Like, can you imagine if you were allowed to just free wander around Haunted Mansion for hours?
I mean, that sounds like a dream.
Right, but like people would never leave.
No one would ever leave.
No one would ever leave. It would be the full-blown Hotel California up in Haunted Mansion land.
Oh, but imagine how amazing it would be if the ride was like shut down right now and you just got to go and walk around and look at everything. I would love that so much.
Especially in that like the dining room down in that.
I want to go there.
Do you ever just... So if you don't know, you probably know, but if you don't know, there are videos on YouTube that you can watch that are like POV of you sitting in the cart and like riding through Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean. And during quarantine, I watched a lot of those videos and it made me so happy. And I watched all the like specials on like getting the Haunted Mansion ready for holiday, like Christmas, and like, brought me so much joy. I'll link the POV videos because it's really fun, especially if you've never been able to go and see Haunted Mansion. Then you might have some reference of like different things that we're talking about today.
Yeah, it's cool to have that experience. And so they actually completed the exterior of the mansion in 1963. Okay. But then they hadn't really figured out what they wanted to do with it.
They said, "Here is a very nice building."
They're like, "We made this building, and that
that building. Yep. That is a nice building."
And they had the Imagineers wanted it to be like a spooky abandoned house.
Sure.
And Walt Disney was like, there are no shitty abandoned buildings in
park.
Disneyland. And the quote I think that they had on there when he was like, we'll take care of the exterior and we'll let the ghosts take care of the interior. So like it could be spooky inside, but it still had to be Disney perfect on the outside.
Okay. Tell me you're a Virgo without telling me you're a Virgo, Walt. I don't know if he is, but he seems like it.
But yeah, so he passed away in 1966, and the ride had not been built yet. And that was kind of after he passed away, people sort of got back onto the project and were putting things together. And that is when we enter the names that most people who are Haunted Mansion fans will most often hear associated with it: Rolly Crump and Yo Gracie, who obviously many of us have kind of accepted as the Lord of the Manor. Sure. It is not official that like in the Haunted Mansion park lore that it is Gracie Manor, but there is the tombstone outside that pays homage to him, and because of that, they did name the family Gracie in the film, The Haunted Mansion. So it's become part of the lore, but it's not technically like official parks canon. But these Imagineers really started using the audio animatronic technology that was invented for, actually, do you know what the first attraction at Disney to use audio animatronic technology was?
Was it It's a Small World?
It's the Enchanted Tiki Room.
Because of the parrots.
The parrots were, and I didn't actually realize that this was an invention of Disney parks. Yeah,
interesting.
That having an animatronic that synced like, to an audio. So they demonstrated that at the New York World's Fair in 64, 65. So that was like, they were kind of like, okay, we're done with this. We're going to focus on this now. And then they were like, hey, let's bring that thing back into this Haunted Mansion ride. And so they were really responsible for establishing a lot of like the cool tricks and illusions that you see as part of the ride. And there are a lot of really great stories about like them like pranking other staff and like turning all the lights in the workshop off, and then people going in there and it's like, ah!
Oh my God. No.
Which one of my other most memorable Haunted Mansion experiences is when I went to Disneyland and went on the one there. The ride did break down in the graveyard scene, and I was by.
Grim gonna go.
Yep. So not only was a group going to go over and over again, but I was right next to a tombstone that a skeleton pops out from behind. God. So I was just sitting there while it would play Grim Grinning Ghost, and then it would like pause, and it would just be like, "Your doom, Buggy, is out of order and will resume once the spirits have been contained." And then this little skeleton would be like,
that's the ninth circle.
Yep. Just hanging out in the Haunted Mansion graveyard scene.
That's funny.
Yes. So the Haunted Mansion opened in Disneyland on August 9th, 1969. And when Disney World opened in 1971, the Haunted Mansion was part of the original attractions there. They actually built a lot of the pieces at the same time because they knew that they wanted the Haunted Mansion to be part of the Disney World park when it opened. So like when they were building like the animatronics and stuff for Disneyland, they built versions for Disney World as well. Nice. Since they were like, in like 2 years, we're going to have this.
We got to be ready. Got to have that immaculate building ready.
Yes. And there is a Haunted Mansion today in every Disney park except Hong Kong Disneyland.
Wonder why.
I don't know. I don't know if it's like a ghost spirits thing. Is like
that's almost what I was
not
wondering.
Is into like that over there.
Yeah, I had that thought. I wonder. Huh.
But apparently, it is the only attraction that is in different lands in the different parks. So like usually like if something's part of like Fantasyland or Tomorrowland, it's always in one of those. But
the mansion moves around.
The mansion is in different.
It's spectral,
places.
So it can go wherever it wants.
Can travel the world. But yeah, so part of the ongoing struggle and why it took so long to put the Haunted Mansion together was this debate about whether it should be funny or scary.
Yeah, and I think that's like they I wouldn't say it's like scary, but I think they do a really good job of teetering on the line.
Yeah.
Where like if you're a kid, it's like a little bit like, but it's not horrifying.
Yeah, that's what like I think that part of the reason that it is so successful and that people love it so much is it does really kind of sit on that line where there are like some legitimate like little like
jump
spooky
scares,
thrills, but it is really fun and really creative and clever. So there's a lot to see and to do. Obviously, it's incredibly iconic, and all of us spooky bitches love having something spooky in the most magical place on earth.
Yes. Thank you for putting that in there, Walt.
Yeah.
And Imagineers.
So I do have fun facts about some of the voices that you hear on the Haunted Mansion. So Madame Leota, who we are both wearing some Madame Leota stuff today. So the face of Madame Leota is Leota Toombs, who was a designer at Disney and designed a lot of attractions. But the voice is Eleanor Audley, who is also the voice of Maleficent.
Oh, nice.
But you can hear Leota Toombs' voice on the Haunted Mansion ride.
Oh.
She is the voice of the little bride at the very end.
Oh, the hurry back. Okay.
So that is her.
Nice.
Which is very cool. And
that'd be crazy to be immortalized in that way, wouldn't it?
Right.
Like, especially like, I mean, obviously film and movies and all that stuff does that, but like that's such a specific thing that so many people are going to experience and it's always the same. Like that would be really a cool like legacy to have.
For sure. And then the voice of the ghost host, the narrator, is Paul Frees, who did other Disney characters. He did Ludwig von Drake, Wacky Duck professor guy. You don't know Ludwig von Drake?
I told you I wasn't a Disney kid.
Well, he also was Boris on Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Oh, okay.
And he was the voice of the Pillsbury Doughboy.
Oh,
So imagine that little
but
tummy
then
poke
like
going while
by
you
your ghost host.
in
That's
your
funny.
corruptible mortal state.
That's funny.
Yep.
Weird. What a. That's kind of like the. Do you know the whole trivia about how the girl who played Samara in The Ring is the voice actress for Lilo from Lilo and Stitch?
No, I didn't know that.
So it's one of those things where like the juxtaposition is
Yes.
just so hard of their like, not filmography, but like what their work they've done. It's like, how did you end up in these two worlds?
Right. Yeah, it's super interesting. And I do find like it's really interesting that, you know, in Disney World, there's a Haunted Mansion dedicated store now. So it obviously is it's a big deal. People
bringer
are
of the
very
folks.
passionate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't you like, I mean, why? I mean, not why, because it's obviously very cool, but it's so fascinating how some things become so iconic and like so loved. See, Tower of Terror was one of those things for me, and I'm
Oh, yeah.
still real broken up about it.
Yeah.
Like that was, I actually, I don't know, that made me sad.
It is. Have you seen the Haunted Mansion movie with Eddie
Oh,
Murphy?
yes. Yes, I have. Did I buy Disney Plus last Halloween just to watch it? Yes, I did, because I hadn't stopped thinking about it for weeks and weeks and weeks.
I have only ever watched it in Spanish.
That's it for the pod today. Thank you so much for watching.
We watched it in my Spanish class in high school. So we watched it in Spanish with English subtitles, which was quite an experience.
I'm sure. Well, you should. I will say so. That was probably my, well, other than my 4-year-old full blown come apart. The movie was my first experience with Haunted Mansion because I didn't go on the ride actually until I was 14, and I think that movie came out when we were probably 8 or 9, something in that realm. And I remember really liking the movie when it came out. I thought it was so cool and good. And then I bought Disney Plus literally just to watch Haunted Mansion last year. And it was still really fun, but I was watching it and I was like, "Oh, this is not as good as I remember it being." Like the storyline's kind of like, ooh, like a little funky. Like but it was Eddie Murphy's just a classic. We love Eddie.
Maybe I'll give it a try on Disney Plus this season.
I will say the Leota scene in the movie is probably, to me, one of the most like iconic. Like, I mean, obviously the room in the actual ride is amazing, but like some things you just can only do with film, you know, with movie magic.
For sure.
And them doing all the like instruments and stuff spinning around the room and chasing Eddie Murphy down the hall. Like that's when I think Haunted Mansion, that's the like image that sticks out to me, is that scene in the film. But I also feel like a phony. I feel like I'm like the people who like Harry Potter for the movies and have never read the books. Also me.
Ooh, we're revealing things on the podcast today.
I've only read Harry Potter in French, and you've only seen Haunted Mansion in Spanish. So
definitely equal things.
Is that thunder?
It is thunder.
You weren't supposed to storm today. It's because we're talking about the Haunted Mansion.
It is. It's very spooky.
It's like Graham goes come out to such a line.
So even though I know you haven't wrote it. It's Freudian slip. I know you haven't ridden the Haunted Mansion frequently, but do you have a favorite segment of the ride from, you know, watching and doing the POV rides and things?
Either the like look over to the dining room, or I mean, I think the thing that sticks out the most is when you get the like ghost in your cart. You know, like they do the weird mirror trick where it looks like they're sitting next to you. I mean, I think that's, especially for its time, like that effect was probably one of the craziest, I think. And that sticks out to me as like the thing from the ride.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think I really like the seance scene with Madame Leota is very cool, very iconic. I mean, I love the dining room and the dancing.
Yeah,
like that's just
so cool.
So cool. I feel like the part of the ride that is like still kind of legitimately creepy to me is where all the door knockers are going.
Yeah.
Like, even as an adult, like, that definitely kind of like gives me the shivers.
Yeah, especially like if you have any kind of anxiety, which I do, like
Yeah.
just all the loud noises. It's like, ah. Also the I think the grave digger,
Yeah.
like it's really happening. I just saw the biggest lightning hit, like literally right in the thing right there. You know, just like the iconic
Yeah.
imagery of the
Classic
haunted
characters.
haunted manager.
Haunted manager. Oh, well, I will say I have always been incredibly envious of the Haunted Mansion maid outfit that the cast members who
Yes,
work at the
it's so
attraction
cute.
get to wear. I definitely have been tempted to buy a recreation of one of those dresses and just have it for myself so I can be a mansion maid.
I love that. I was gonna ask, I have a weird like side trivia question
Yeah.
that I don't know the answer to, but I thought you might since you're a fan. The tombstone that says like, "Here lies good old Fred. Something fell down and bumped his head," or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
or a rock fell on his head.
Yeah.
Or I've always wondered because I feel like that's one of those pieces of Haunted Mansion that you see like all the time, people referencing it, and I have no idea what the like deal with that tombstone is.
Ooh, I don't know that one specifically. Let's see if we can find it.
Giving it a goog. Well, because I noticed this year, um, Spirit has a replica of that specific tombstone.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, it must be like more of a pertinent imagery than I thought.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the Fred one is a specific reference.
Hmm.
It does say it says 12 of the 13 epitaphs on the Disneyland ones are to Imagineers.
That would be a little like I don't know if I would want a tombstone with my name on it.
So that was actually something really interesting
Uh-huh.
that I read about is there was a tombstone that was named after one of the Imagineers, and after he died, his widow did ask that it be removed,
Oh.
but it has recently been reinstated because his
Hmm.
grandchildren were like, no, like he would be
Yeah.
happy to have it be part of like this
I
attraction.
would have said you can either take it down or you can bury him in the yard of the haunted mansion
Yes.
and leave it up.
Oh, well, oh, that's the other topic is people depositing ashes on the ride,
On the
which
ride.
is a super common thing. Yeah. Breaking news. Yeah, it's like infamous that people will sneak ashes onto the haunted mansion and deposit them, and then obviously like they have to shut everything down and clean everything out.
Not ashes in the mansion.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I understand why people would want that or like think it would be cool, but like, what? No,
Yeah, no.
don't do that.
I'm fine if you want to take my ashes for a ride on the
That
haunted
would be cool.
mansion, but like
Yeah.
that's not cool. You can't leave dead people parts in a
No.
Disney ride.
No. This is a place for children. No. Yeah. No. But yeah, take my urn.
Yeah.
Like, that would be, or, Weekend at Bernie's me
Yeah.
and like take a picture with the ghost next to me.
Yes. Oh my god, I love it.
Oh, something else I wanted to bring up that is probably my favorite Haunted Mansion thing. The tightrope walker.
Yes, I love
I
her.
have always wanted to cosplay her. I just the dress is so pretty and like the whole art of that whole storyline and ride is just
Yeah.
really really cool.
I am wearing my tightrope walker necklace.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even notice. That is so
Today,
cool.
this is official Disney merch.
That is so pretty. When you've got your wallpaper ears, all of
Yes.
this, I love it.
Yeah, I love me some haunted mansion.
Is that supposed to be Constance and the little cameo in the middle?
I think it's kind of representative of her.
That's awesome. Yeah. Penny's got the hookup with the I just have my little quirky turkey Madame Leota brooch. But it does say foolish mortals.
It does. That is very good.
And it does also glow in the dark.
Oh, that's even better. That's even better.
Well, I have learned a lot about Haunted Mansion today.
I'm glad.
Because I mean, this like I've said this before on YouTube and things, but like I wasn't. It's not that I wasn't a Disney kid, but like I wasn't as exposed to a lot of it, I
Yeah.
think. I was really into like Little Mermaid. That was like it, and I wasn't super like I hadn't even seen like Sleeping Beauty and stuff until like 3 years ago.
What?
Yeah,
Oh
like
man.
I really wasn't raised. I definitely was a Pixar kid,
Yeah.
but so I think I just I missed so much of this, and like I know there are so many people who like this is their thing and
Yeah.
they know so much about Disney, which is awesome. But I like getting the opportunity to learn about these things because especially the parks, there's so much that goes
There
into the
is.
parks,
Oh,
and
it's crazy.
I just don't know.
Yeah, well, thank you for letting me take you on this little doom buggy ride
Yes.
through Haunted Mansion facts and fun trivia.
Yes.
So we will sign off for now. Thank you for joining us on Ghouls Night In. If you'd like to follow us, you can follow us at Ghouls Night In Pod on Instagram. And please do subscribe and rate and review us on your podcatcher of choice. If you want to find me, you can find me at Penny Snark on all the channels.
And I am at Midge Munster on all the things.
And we will say goodbye for now and
Hurry.
hurry back.
Bye.
Bye.